Hello fellow teachers and welcome to my channel. Here is the latest DepEd news and update. DepEd refused to suspend the 1530 salary scheme. For more details about this, please watch the full video. The Department of Education responded to the Alliance of Concerned Teachers letter requesting to suspend the implementation of the 1530 salary scheme due to the hardships it caused to faculty and due to the lack of consultation with ACT unions, which are the sole and exclusive negotiating agents in the region. According to DepEd, only the Alliance of Concerned Teachers opposes the policy while other faculty and staff organizations agree. In a letter from the Office of the Undersecretary for Finance dated January 28, 2022, addressed to Mr. Raymond Basilio, the Secretary General of the Alliance of Concerned Teachers Philippines, Annalyn M Sevilla wrote, and I quote, "Dear Mr. Basilio, this pertains to your letter dated January 21, 2022, requesting for the suspension of the implementation of the twice-a-month release of the salary based on complaints from teachers received by your regional union chapters. By way of a brief background, the department issued Memorandum OUF-2021-0703 October 27, 2021 with the subject Internal Guidelines on the Implementation of Twice-a-Month Release of Salary to DepEd Personnel addressed to all field offices and appropriate units in the central office. The said memorandum noted the approval by the DepEd Secretary of the implementation of the twice-a-month release of salary. The implementation of the twice-a-month release of salary is consistent with existing laws and the Government Accounting and Auditing Manual. The DepEd anchored its issuance on the following laws. Number 1, Section 1 of Commonwealth Act Number 303, Series of 1938, which states that every employer, including the head of every government office, whether national, provincial, or municipal, shall pay the salaries and wages of his employees and laborers at least once every 2 weeks or 1/2 month unless it is impossible to do so due to force majeure or to some other causes beyond control, or unless he has been previously exempted by the Secretary of Labor from this requirement. Number 2, Article 103 in Chapter 3, Book 3, Conditions of Employment of the Labor Code of the Philippines or Presidential Decree Number 442 provides the time of payment. Wages shall be paid at least once every 2 weeks or twice a month at intervals not exceeding 16 days. If on account of force majeure or circumstances beyond the employer's control, payment of wages on or within the time herein provided cannot be made, the employer shall pay the wages immediately after such force majeure or circumstances have ceased. No employer shall make payment with less frequency than once a month. Number 3, Executive Order Number 312 Series 1958 entitled Directing the Payment of Salaries of Government Officials and Employees, including those of government-owned or controlled corporations, once a week or 4 times a month. The reason stated in the EO was drawing of partial salaries before paydays has become a common practice by the employees, which is still the trend nowadays. Number 4, Article 8, Section 261, or the guidelines in the preparation of payroll of the Government Accounting and Auditing Manual, states that payment of salaries of government officials and employees for services rendered should be made not oftener than once a week. Other government offices may make payment of salaries and allowances to government officials and employees twice a month, first on the 15th and the second on the last day of the month. The above-quoted provisions of the laws and the GAAP clearly support the twice-a-month release of salaries. In your letter, you share that teachers were experiencing difficulties with the new salary payment arrangement. We note that whether the salary will be split into 2 or not, the total amount of net take-home pay to be received by employees in a month will still be the same. Loan amortizations being paid by employees through salary reduction will still be once a month, and only one payslip will be provided to each employee per month. Prior to the issuance of Memorandum OUF number 2021-0703, there are already DepEd offices and schools that have been implementing the release of salaries to their personnel on a twice-a-month basis. There are about 55 public secondary schools that are implementing twice-a-month release of salary already since the granting of their IU status. The central office and 5 regional offices, namely Regions 2, 4A, 11, NCR, and CAR, are also on a twice-a-month release of salary. They have not reported issues and challenges. Simply put, the implementation of this twice-a-month salary is to level off and standardize the payment scheme of all DepEd employees so that those in the elementary level would not be deprived of this cash availability and feel discriminated against their counterparts in the secondary level. If we examine the legal basis for the twice-a-month payment of salaries, this is really intended for the benefit of employees and personnel. Under the new setup, cash will be readily available to teachers and non-teaching personnel earlier than the previous schedule of salary release. If some teachers prefer to receive their salaries only at the end of the month, they have the option to withdraw their salaries only once a month. With regard to the issue that DepEd Central Office decided to implement the twice-a-month salary without prior consultation, we note that prior to the issuance of Memorandum OUF-2021-0703, we issued Memorandum OUF number 2021-0500 dated July 19, 2021 entitled Survey on Payroll Preparation Process as part of the consultation process and to gather vital inputs to be used in the crafting of procedural guidelines, eligibility criteria, and training design in the implementation of the said arrangement. Among the teaching and non-teaching professional organizations, associations, and unions within DepEd, it appears that only the Alliance of Concerned Teachers is not amenable with this salary scheme. The following organizations and associations have expressed their full support and endorsement to the implementation of the twice-a-month release of salary: Philippine Public School Teachers Associations, DTU National Teachers Associations, Philippine Association of Schools Superintendents, DepEd National Employees Union, Teachers Dignity Coalition, and Association of DepEd Directors. Regarding the issue on bank charges, DepEd employees are encouraged to draw their salaries from the ATMs of government servicing banks, Land Bank of the Philippines, Development Bank of the Philippines, Philippine Veterans Bank to avoid withdrawal charges. Ultimately, the advantages of this arrangement far outweigh the perceived disadvantages. Thus, we are unable to agree to your request to suspend its implementation. We hope that this clarifies all the issues raised by your association. Thank you. Sincerely, Undersecretary Annalyn M. Sevilla.